Just in 10 minutes, let us find out how to calculate year-to-date value for current year and previous year. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe. In this demonstration, I will be using a calendar table. If you need to know about creating your own calendar table, please watch my video on this topic. The link is provided in the description. I will also talk about a few time intelligence functions. If you have not used such functions, please check video 5.4 from 53rd minute onwards, as well as my video on D for DAX part 4.1. When we speak about time intelligence functions, there is one group of such functions concerned with summarizations over time. Total YTD is one such function that evaluates an expression for YTD in the current filter context. YTD stands for year to date. Another group of DAX time intelligence functions is concerned with shifting time periods. Same period last year is one such function that returns a table that contains a column of dates that are shifted 1 year back in time from the dates in the specified dates column in the current filter context. Here is the scenario we are going to discuss. We have data for 2 years, 2022 and 2023, and calculating year-to-date sales is straightforward. However, shifting back by 1 year and to obtain the YTD for previous year is slightly tricky. Shifting back is easy, but shifting back and getting YTD for previous year is slightly tricky. There is no direct DAX function available to do this. I'm going to use my calendar table called CY, and we have a fact table called sales data, which are connected together through the date column. Once this is done, for any time intelligence calculations, I can use the date column in the CY table to reference dates. In this example, the first logic that I am using is to create a calculated column in my calendar table, wherein I want to find out if the current year is 2023, all the earlier years should be marked as past years. For this purpose, I am using two variables. Please make a note of the eDate function that is used to create the second variable. The eDate function returns the date that is indicated number of months before or after the start date. If the current year is 2023, ultimately any date that belongs to 2022 or earlier years will return true for the is past measure. After creating the calculated column in the CY table, I need to create a couple of measures, which you can see in the screen that I will be explaining while I show you the demo. Let us see things in action now. So I do have a Power BI file readily available, and in the report canvas area, I have two slicers, one for the year values and one for the month values. When I look at the model, as informed, I can see that the date columns from CY table and the sales data table are connected together. There is another table called measures table available in this model, which will be used to park any new measure that I am going to create. As informed, the first step is to create a calculated column in the CY table. I am in the CY table, would like to hit on new column, would like to use a formula that is going to give me the value called is past. For that purpose, I am declaring my first variable called last sale date, which will go to the sales data's date column, not the CY table's date column. It will go to the sales data date column, identify the maximum value out of that. And the second variable will make use of the first variable. It will use the eDate function from the first variable, then go back by 12 months. And both the variables will be returned. And finally, I am asking a logical question. Is the date that is from CY table is less than or equal to the last sale date PY that was identified from the fact table. Let us look at the first line item here, the date for 1st January 2022. If the above formula for creating a new column is going to return yes here, then this date is considered to be a date belonging to previous year. Plain and simple. Let me hit enter and let us see the results of this. I can see that the value returned is true, which means that 1st January 2022 belongs to a previous year because the current year is 2023. Just to confirm that our logic is working correct, I am going to choose only those rows where the is past value is going to be false, and then you can see that any date that belongs to 2023 says I am not a past value, I am the current value. So this is the first step that we have completed successfully. Let me now speak about creating measures. As informed, I have a measures table currently empty. I am consciously clicking on that, then hit new measure where I can type a formula. My intention is to bring the total sales out of the sales data table as a measure so that I can build all other measures over that. For that, I am going to use a simple formula which says total sales should be equal to sum of the values from the sales column of sales data table. Let me hit enter and the first measure might have been created. I have an empty column here in the measures table which may not be needed, so I am going to delete that from the model. And once it is done, you can see that the measures table is moving to the top level so that it is going to be easy for me to locate all my measures. I'm going to create my second measure with a formula which is going to get me the year to date value, total YTD, that will be calculated based upon the previous measure called total sales with reference to the date column from my calendar table. Let me hit enter and the second measure might have been calculated. I have created a table in which I'm using the date column from my CY table and the two measures that we have created. I can see the total sales on that particular date and year to date value being shown here. On 2nd January 2022, you can see the sum of first 2 days. 3rd January 2022, you can see the sum of first 3 days and so on. So the year to date function is working pretty good. Let us now look at the third measure that needs to be created. This is the third measure I want to create. I'm using the has one value function and then selected value function, which means that if somebody is going to select any date from the existing date column of the CY table, then that should be considered as the selected day. Otherwise, please consider today as the selected day. Let me hit enter and then pull this value inside a card. You can now see the card is showing the current date as per my system date, 11th November 2023. However, the moment I am going to click on any date from the CY table's date column, that will be shown as the selected day. You may ask me a question, but wait Raja, what is the purpose of this particular measure called a selected day? I will answer to you by creating my fourth measure in which I am going to call for YTD value for the selected day using a calculate function. I want to calculate the sales YTD by filtering the calendar table's date equals selected day. Let me hit enter and then pull this value also inside a card. You can now see the card showing the selected days YTD, which you can verify from the table on the left. This is the final measure that I am going to create, which will get me the YTD value from the previous year. Let us also pull this value inside a card as well as inside the table and then check it. The card visual that is trying to show the last year YTD is saying that I don't have a data for me. That is quite true because we are talking about 7th January 2022 and we don't have data for 2021 or any previous year. On the other hand, if I am going to click on 2023 and then choose the 7th January, now you will be able to see what is happening. If the current date is 7th January 2023, YTD for the current year is this value, whereas YTD for the previous year, that is 7th January 2022, is this value. Let us just check that in a second by going back to year 2022. 7th January, you are able to see the same value. Let me click back to 2023, you will be able to see the same value here, which means that this measure that we have created is working perfectly correct. This is how I'll be creating the YTD for a previous year value in case it is needed, and that can also be shown inside the table. So that is the end of this discussion. Hope things are clear for all of you. While calculating the YTD value is quite common, calculating YTD value for previous year may be a less common requirement. However, it is required by many organizations for obvious reasons. Since we don't have a direct DAX function to calculate this, we are using a few steps. The results can be achieved by some other logical methods also. If you have used any such logic which is shorter and better than what you saw in this video, please share details via comments so that rest of the viewers of this video can also get the benefits. In case this method is new for you and if you find it useful, please let us know by your comments. Thanks for watching this video. See you in the next video.